YouTube, what's up, app-driven guy? So, after my last video, I got a really interesting comment that was very helpful from Doc Holiday. Thank you so much for watching. And he said, your look is really starting to get unattractive. I like your videos. It's funny that people that want to say rude-ass things always start their comments with, I really like your videos, but, and they continued with, your look is getting very unattractive. Get clean shaven and button up your act and you'll make more money. And I couldn't help but laughing because it sounded like a 10th grade gym coach, or else my grandma, which my grandma wouldn't even say anything like that. But it was really helpful for me though, because it helped solidify for me why I love being self-employed. I don't have to live by someone else's rules of what they want to put on me to try to make me, you know, dress or act a certain way in order to make money. I love the thought of being able to be who I am and what I want to do and what I want to be to make money. It's just amazing. So thank you for that. I appreciate the comment. So anyway, this video, it kind of inspired me to make a video about self-employment. And there's a lot of debate on this, whether rideshare drivers, you know, Amazon Flex drivers are actually self-employed. And I say yes, 100%, absolutely. I don't want anything to do with these lawsuits for people trying to get rights as employees or, you know, whatever else, because there's so much opportunity from being self-employed to be able to make money with these apps. First of all, you're not, as an employee, you're not forced by Uber or Lyft or Postmates to do any deliveries they send to you. You know, they send them to you through the app, but you have the opportunity, you have the choice to turn down whatever orders you want. You know, when Lyft sends you these orders that are 25 minutes away and you're in a prime time zone, you don't have to accept those. The same thing with Uber. You'll be right in the eye of a storm, of a surge, and they'll try to send you 20 minutes away where there's no surge, and you're likely going to get some kind of short ride, you know, taking someone down the street that you're not going to make any money on. Now, how they try to combat this is through their incentives, through their guarantees. So they'll guarantee you, you know, $16, $20, $30 an hour as long as you stay on their platform for, you know, 50 minutes for Lyft or an hour for Uber, and you take, you know, 1 or 2 rides, whatever it is, during that time. And so those are ways they try to get you to basically be like an employee, where you're going to work for a set wage in order to do everything they want you to do. And a lot of people do that. I've done that a lot. I've made a lot of videos about guarantees and how to make money with guarantees, and I think that's a very valid way to go about making money. Me personally, I only try to do guarantees if I can get money from both companies at the same time. Like if I can do Uber guarantees and still take rides for Lyft. You know, it's difficult to go into the processes of how to do that. There's not enough time on this video. Those are things that I like to try and teach people to do one-on-one with mentoring. So anyway, beyond that, another reason I feel like this is self-employment is there's nobody telling me when I have to work. I can choose. I can choose to make my own schedule. You know, sometimes I'll work exclusively early mornings and start at 3 o'clock in the morning, do airport rides, work through rush hour in the morning, and then I'll take an Amazon Flex block. Sometimes I'll start the day with Amazon Flex and I'll work, you know, 2 Amazon Flex blocks or 1, and then I'll transfer over into doing Postmates and then go back to Uber and Lyft in the afternoon. Sometimes, you know, I'll just work nights. I'll just decide, hey, you know, I'll make more money and I'll drive drunk people around for a while and take that risk. And so I'll do that. But that's just it. I get to work when I want to. I don't have to have somebody telling me when and where, and that's a great feeling. That's definitely self-employment. The only thing I feel like is not self-employment is the fact that you can't see where an order's going until you pick the person up with Uber and Lyft. That's one thing I really don't like, that I wish they would change. I don't feel like they would have too many cancellations, because a lot of people like doing short rides, you know, and the biggest thing is people don't like taking orders that are going to throw them way far away from where they want to be working, or where, they want to end up. But sometimes people do want to get thrown way out of an area because it's taking them closer to their house. So the ability to be able to see where an order goes, I don't think would really hurt these companies, especially now that the driver market is so saturated. I think there's drivers all over these cities and different places that would love to just know where they're going to end up, and then, decide if they're going to take the order based on that. But that's a whole nother subject. The same thing with Postmates. They'll send you an order just showing you where it's picking up. A lot of times, if I'm trying to get home, I'll just turn Postmates on, I'll get an order, then I'll see where it's going. If it's not going the direction I want to go, I cancel it. They kick me off the app for 5 minutes, then I'll try again. Caviar is probably the best because it actually shows you where your order's picking up, what neighborhood it's dropping off in, and then I can decide if I want to take the order based on that. It's really great. But I'd say that's pretty much the only drawback, and the only thing that doesn't really feel like full freedom and self-employment with Uber and Lyft is the fact that you can't see where you're going to end up. Now, another great thing, yesterday I developed a stomach bug while I was working, and, I powered through my day. I was doing Amazon Flex, it was fine. But I got home and was, in the middle of the night, sitting there going, man, I feel horrible. I'm not going to be able to work in the morning. And just for like a millisecond, the thought was like, oh no, I got to call in. It was like, wait a minute, I don't call in to anybody. I am the decider of that. I am my own boss. I get to do what I want. And so beyond that too, I'm going to be doing my own taxes at the end of the year, thus self-employed. I have the ability to write off all these miles I've driven this year, to write off expenses, to write off depreciation on my car. And you don't get to do that with a job. You commute back and forth to a job, you don't write off those miles. You don't get to claim that depreciation on your car. So when a lot of people, put up comments on my videos talking about, depreciation, miles, and just whatever, I make so much more money than it would take to depreciate my car that quickly. We're talking about a $20,000 vehicle over 6 or 7 years that I would be able to drive that car doing rideshare. That's $3,000 a year. That's a tiny chunk of what I'm going to be making. And so that really doesn't hold a lot of validity with me as far as, worrying about using my car to do rideshare. That really doesn't impact my thoughts on it. I love those comments, but it's like, you can save it because it really doesn't have any effect on me. I feel like I make way more than enough money to cover that stuff. So I'd like to thank I saw a video from Uberman, that was really helpful, talking about acceptance rates. And, I was kind of worried about acceptance rates being able to be something they could fire you over, but he kind of calmed my worries about that. Thankful for that. Then also, I've seen some other comments on my videos, people talking about how, their acceptance rate's like 17%. And so during this snowstorm that we just had, I really took that advice to heart and used that to my advantage, because during the snowstorm, the roads were all icy. It was taking forever to get to people, but we had this huge prime time and huge surge like in the city, but not in the rural areas. And so Lyft would continuously try to send me out to these areas, and I just kept denying it and just letting it go. And the same with Uber. And I would just turn on Uber and just wait, until I'd see one right in the zone, right in the surge where I was, and just deny orders all day until I got that. So I think if there's any advice I can give you, it's to make that decision early during the week. If you're going to go for acceptance rate, and try to get guarantees if they're good guarantees, or if you're going to just say forget it and just go with the orders that are going to be the best for you. So I'd like to thank those people that have put those comments up, that kind of inspired me. The videos that I've seen, that's really great advice. This last week I made a killing with Lyft and Uber, just sticking to my guns and saying I'm not going to accept orders that are going to throw me out of the area. So anyway, don't want to go on too long. Just want to make a quick video about self-employment and my beliefs and thoughts on that. And I thank you all for watching. Have a great day.